Hi, my name is SK, and this is Thought Infrastructure right here on Clean Money TV. This show is brought to you by Avenue, going beyond a cab hailing platform, but at the same time, it does delivery services. In this time where essential services are without a doubt something to speak about. So today we want to basically speak about something I think that we have to, especially now after a pandemic like COVID, we bring ourselves to a place where we see that the world is changing. And as the world is changing, we have to ask ourselves, where is the world going? Because we need the mindset of that new future. There is a new future without a doubt. Some things that we have to look at, especially at this time, is that there are many businesses that have been closed. Number two, there's many people that have lost their jobs. Some people have basically reduced their income and things like that. And have we been here before in history? The truth is we actually have. And we need to go back so that we may appreciate how the new future looks like. Because they say, the further back you look, the further forward you see. And with that being the case, therefore, we have to see that there is an economy shift. And the economy that we were in was very different. And I'll explain it. But the new economy that we are now coming into is called the gig economy. Every time there is a crisis, the gig economy comes forth. So today we see the gig economy has been born. What is the gig economy? The gig economy is an economy that now addresses massive job losses and a very liberalized way of people looking at business, people looking at earnings, people looking at engagements. A gig economy brings people to a place where they actually need to find something to do that is not necessarily correlated to what they used to do. Or if it is correlated to what they used to do, it's completely in a different format. It's actually a gig. The gig word is brought from the musical sense of things. In music, when a musician creates a song or a band creates a unit, then they need to go gig. Probably go play at a hotel, play at a club, it's a gig. You're employed for that particular day for that alone. You're not necessarily employed permanently into the hotel or club, but they have hired your services for that particular evening. This is the interesting thing. A few things come when you're looking at gig economy. You realize that, number one, people are looking for gig economies because jobs are threatened. So now people have to actually have portable value that they can plug in, get paid, and pull back. And that being the case, therefore, a gig economy is born. Let's look at 2008 when the economy crashed. When the economy crashed, we realized something that happened in the first worlds. In the first worlds, gig enterprises were born. And these ones were cab hailing, food delivery. People were doing things like sharing cars. And we are going to see the same in such a time. Especially at such a time, people will look at what they have that is valuable, and therefore will need to now push it out to people as a service that can be paid for. Imagine that someone can be able to, probably someone has a washing machine as an example, and they can now give the service of cleaning clothes on their own personal washing machine as a gig for a fee. And these are things that we will see going on and on and on. People will start shopping for others. People will start looking at things from a very different point of view, because people will now start doing gig. These people who participate in such an economy are called giggers. And giggers will be many, where professionals will now be plugging in their services. Let's assume a HR professional will now go into different institutions as a service, plug in their service, sort them out, pull back. Other professionals will now need to look at things as well the same way, because it will be cheaper for companies to do that. But the advantage for a gigger will be that they will get the flexibility of working when they choose to work and resting when they choose to rest. There are different ways that a gig economy has been looked at in history, but in the near future that we are going, currently we are looking at, in the US currently, at the date of this recording, 41 million people have lost their jobs. In Kenya currently at the date of recording, we have more than 1.6 million people who have lost their jobs officially. So there are many who are entrepreneurs who have not yet been counted, so you can assume about 3 million people have lost their job. That's a huge number. So the question is, what will we do with all these people? Because we actually don't have jobs for them. But the truth is, the new future is gigging. So the people who will create gig environments and gig ecosystems then will carry the day. And this is exciting because, as we spoke of Avenue, the intention of Avenue is basically to be able to create a gig environment where you find someone who has a car, or two cars for that matter, in their household. They can release one car to go do either delivery or cab hailing. At the same time, you'll find people, professionals, who will now start buying doolies. A guy will have one bike, two bikes, and it will be gigging as a side hustle. So this is something that we are about to see. So I want to give you a few drivers of the gig economy. So when we talk about drivers of the gig economy, we're looking at a few things. And number one, urbanization. Urbanization is an important thing because when we speak about urbanization, we speak about people living rural areas coming into the cities. When they come into the cities, then convenience becomes the product of the city, where people want to be able to have good food but not necessarily cook because of their busy schedules. So you find that they need someone to be able to do two things in that scenario. One person to cook and one person to deliver the food to them. So number two, as I mentioned earlier, there is laundry. That's a solution by itself. There's shopping. That's a solution. There's all these things that are coming up to help the essence of urbanization. Because when people come into an urban area, then space shrinks. When space shrinks, you outsource most of the things that you have. Even businesses now, because of urbanization now, we find people are coming together now to look at things slightly different because they're looking at the bottom line and not necessarily the environment that they're working on. So people are doing shared offices, which is a gig element of an economy, where someone can come in, plug in, use the office and plug out. So this is very important to look at. Something else is digitization. Digitization makes people want to synchronize their lives to things. So people want to synchronize their lives. That's why you're seeing everything is on demand. On-demand TV, on-demand food, on-demand delivery, on-demand service, on-demand many things. And everything that is falling under the space of synchronizing life with people or people with their lifestyle then falls under the gig economy. We know mjengo people. Those are the basic element of a gig, where people either go to a mjengo or people go to industrial area, like here in Kenya, and they line up at the gate and they wait to be given a gig. Some get, some don't, and it is what it is. But the state of mind of a gigger is very different, because now you don't fade out or fade into a crowd. But this, you have to stand out. Your value has to stand out outrightly. People have to meet you and see your value. Unless they meet and see your value, then they miss you. and you miss out on the gig. So digitization is purely about synchronizing people. People don't want to miss out. People don't have time, yet they need to get the amenities that they need to run life. And when someone else comes in to plug in and buy them time, then a gig economy is valid and needed in such. There's a different element, and this is the third thing, which is called millennialization. Millennialization is interesting. Millennialization is basically where now people are getting into the state of mind of millennials because they are now the majority. And this is the state of mind. Number one, they need flexibility. That's why you hear people speak about flexi hours. So you get a graphic designer who basically gets to do gigs. They prepare this, they prepare that, they send it, and they're good. Flexibility is huge to millennials because they want to do what they are passionate about. And that's interesting because the flexibility element of things keeps the freshness in the gig economy, because people are able to have time with family, have time with self, do some work, and at the same time have work-life balance. That helps because stress levels go down, and at the same time fatigue element is minimized. Something else about millennials is independence. The independence of just being able to have what you need. And you've seen this in podcasts, in vlogs, and all sorts of things, where people are now looking for an element of independence in their finances. So that's an element of gig economy. We will see more bloggers, we will see more people who are creating content that is specific, content that is specialized, content that is thematic. And the intention of that is for them to be able to create independence in an element of media, where a media house will not necessarily be what we knew it was, but a media house now can be a guy with a phone or a young lady with a phone, the microphone, and basically camera, lights, action, and they're gigging. And that gig has value sufficient for an advertiser to want to do a placement on their thing. Something else about this particular economy is for us to be able to appreciate and realize that millennials come from a sharing economy. Share economy is access economy, where whatever they get, they share. And that is becoming a whole trend on its own, where people are sharing content, people are sharing books, people are sharing toys, people are sharing different things, and therefore it creates employment opportunities in the gig environment. So this is an economy that is being predicted to be the fastest growing at this particular time of a pandemic. The question is, have you been thinking of your skill as a gig? Because if you have not been thinking of your skill as a gig, then you will, without a doubt, be disrupted. So I want to tell you about the revolution of a gig. So there's gig revolution. Gig revolution is split into two. Number one, there is static labor market model. Static labor market model is where the labor market pretty much has 95% of the population. And the labor market is the majority, without a doubt, in any community. But the labor market has been in a static model. And the static model has been the 8-to-5 model, the conveyor belt model, which is dying. And in such a time where people are pressed, hard pressed, commercially they are pressed, financially they are pressed, factories are hard pressed, companies, institutions, everyone is hard pressed, then the conveyor belt model breaks. And now people get into a different model. It's called the dynamic labor market model. The dynamic labor market model is where everyone now that survives will be the person who has adaptability quotient. People who are able to be agile, people who are able to be thinkers on their feet, people who are able to be dynamic, people who don't just have one skill, but people who have multiple skills that can be used in different areas. So a gig economy is not an economy where, like in the static economy, where people are identified by what they do, where someone says, I'm a lawyer, I'm a carpenter. No, in the gig economy, you don't say that. In the dynamic economy, you basically say, I work as a lawyer today. Then tomorrow, I work as a cab hailing driver. I work as a delivery person. I work as today. So the gig economy changes the meaning of things, where we are not what we do, but we're just individuals who have dynamism inside of us, and therefore we have the capacity to do dynamic different things for pay, because that's the essence of a gig. So it's no longer where it used to be static, then you have a side hustle at home. No. Think of it that the side hustles are now the main hustles in a gig economy, where you look at a company, you plug in what it is that they need, you move out. You plug in elsewhere, you move out. So let me give you the downside of a gig economy. The downside of a gig economy is that there are things that used to be that will never be. Things like packages that different corporates used to have. Things like medical covers that different people used to have. In a gig economy now, everyone now is standing as an entrepreneur, but not to build a business, but to build the efficiency of being used as a giga by the society and the economy at large. So ladies and gentlemen, therefore, I bring you to this realization purely to equip us, to help us think of how to deal with a pandemic, to help us appreciate that when the world is changing, them that change will survive. Them that can't change will without a doubt die. So they say evolve or die. In a gig economy, the truth of the matter is that we just have to intrinsically look at ourselves and ask ourselves, do I actually add value? Because in such a season, you can't be the guy who hides behind people. No, you can't be the guy who speaks from a point of the strengths of the people who cover your weaknesses. But now you have to actually relook at yourself from a point of, as a person, what fruitfulness can I extend to a society, to an economy that now wants to cut costs. Every institution will want to cut costs. Institutions will start outsourcing services from HR, finance, anything that they can outsource, they will outsource. And I'm telling you, without a doubt, there will be a giga to come plug in designs, whether it's websites and all these things. People will come in, do it, move out. So the question is, what will you do in such a time where your skill has to stand out, where your efficiency, where your prowess has to be seen, felt, and used as a giga? My name is SK, and this is Thought Infrastructure, right here on Clean Money TV, brought to you by Avenue, Going Beyond, a platform that does cab hailing and at the same time delivery service, purely as a gig enterprise. Thank you very much. Till next time, see you then.